I'm still waiting for him to walk through that door over there. It is a new era. It is a new era. Now, Kobe did leave us with quite the memory in that last game, scoring 60 points, saying goodbye to Laker Nation, opening and ushering in a new era of basketball where the youth will lead the way. They will have to find that leadership somewhere within this roster, and I think Coach Walton has some ideas where it may come from. But let me tell you, you replace a legend, the game doesn't get easier. I don't know who's going to drop 60 on this team next year if they need someone to drag them across the finish line like this man did for 20 years.
Yeah, Kobe, one of the certainly all-time greats, and in terms of Laker history, most games played, most points scored, most wins, second on the assist list, and of course in the NBA, he scored the third most points all time, and five-time champion is no longer with the organization. They move on. And now we look to start anew here with the Lakers, and over the next couple of hours, it's a real treat. We're real thankful that you're with us because it's one of the best shows I think we do all year. Unique perspective, watch practice, watch how Luke Walton gets things done. We've got the coach and a couple players mic'd up for sound. The general manager, Mitch Kupchak, will join us along with some players, and they wrap up practice. And Rick, a lot of what we're going to see today and the vibe around this organization is optimistic, and that's despite the fact that they're coming off the worst 3-year run in L.A. Laker history.
Well, it is that time of year. Training camp, new beginning to seasons, new rosters. You try to leave everything behind, especially as you pointed to and alluded to the record the last 3 years. Would you say Kobe Bryant scored 60 points? How many games did they win the last 3 years?
65.
65. So that tells you how much of a climb is ahead of them. But as we've watched them through the draft the last few years acquire some of the best young talent in the game, that young talent has to now, on this very floor behind us, find their way to maximizing that potential and delivering on some wins.
Before they take the practice court, Luke Walton is going over a film session with the squad. You know, you mentioned some win-loss numbers. I want to put things in perspective for you because you certainly lived through one of the glory periods of the Lakers. Yeah. During your 7 years with the Lakers in the regular season, your teams lost a total of 141 games, 141 in 7 seasons. Over the last 3 seasons here with the Lakers, they've lost 181.
That's a lot of losses. It's not something that anyone in this organization, I'm sure, subscribe to, especially the fan base. It's not anything they have gotten comfortable with. The expectation level of winning, and not just contending, but winning at a championship level, has not left the city of Los Angeles. It has not left the hopes and dreams of the fan base, as well as those here in this organization. It's just, how do you get back there?
Well, how important then is that Luke Walton is the man charged with starting the process towards getting back to those glory days?
Well, he was a part of some of those glory days. Mm-hmm. He understands this organization from its core. You saw Mitch there. He brought Luke Walton in here. Luke spent years under Phil Jackson and years with Kobe Bryant and great players like Pau Gasol, and so he knows what it means to win. Now, and if we even go up the bay a little bit, up the 101 and the PCH, and we land in San Francisco and the Golden State Warriors the last few years, he got more of that experience. He played and he coached under Steve Kerr, where the players in that organization were some of the best players in the game and actually played the game the right way. Set an example for these young players here in this gym here today to understand if they can be unselfish, if they can move the ball, if they can create opportunities for each other, and most importantly, if they can defend, learn how to defend in this game, play both ends of the floor, they too can start to move towards what he was a part of the last 2 years.
This is day 4 of training camp here in Santa Barbara. The team will be here through the weekend and then open up their preseason schedule in Anaheim on Tuesday. And, Rick, the players have alluded to a lot of what you've been talking about, a lot of time focused on the fundamentals. The defensive side of the ball has been the majority of the talk from the coaching staff to the players. And D'Angelo Russell said so far through the first 2 days it's been 100% different here during this training camp than the one he took part in last year with Byron Scott as the head coach. And you know, there was, let's face facts, there was a lot of butting of heads with the coaching staff and the players because of the interesting situation they were in last year. As Kobe did his farewell tour, trying to groom these young players, are you trying to win? Are you trying to do player development? And you're also trying to make sure you respect Kobe's legacy.
Yeah, there was a fine line, thin ice sheet of ice that they were all skating on in this organization, which is how do you say goodbye to a 20-year legend that has raised 5 banners in your rafters and contributed to the city and the fan base the way he has for so long. And I think that was the most important thing, to handle that respectfully, to really say goodbye. And I don't think you know how to say goodbye. No one's ever played 20 years in a Laker organization that they had to say goodbye to like this, and I thought they handled it exceptionally well. And now that youth that got to see Kobe in his element, even through all the injuries, still persevere and fight through to prepare himself night in and night out to compete still at the highest level. It may not be the numbers and the win columns that they maybe grew up watching him accomplish, but I think they'll look back throughout the course of this season from last year, and the little lessons that Kobe might have passed on, whether they were verbal or nonverbal, will start to show up for them again, and they will start to appreciate more last season than maybe they know at this moment right now.
Let's get a little bit into this roster here. Obviously very young, 10 players under the age of 25 years old are here in camp. We've already shown you and mentioned Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell. What's being asked of these guys, while also Mitch Kupchak making sure he puts in a solid fill of veterans around him that he brought in this summer with Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng and Jose Calderon. There are guys here who are experienced NBA vets and now are fighting for playing time with these young up-and-coming lottery picks.
Well, some veteran experience was definitely needed. I mean, this is a roster at the end of the last season here that did not have a center, and so they had to go out and acquire a center. Timothy Mozgov obviously was their answer to that equation there, and then they brought in Luol Deng, who we know has been a solid swingman in this league for years now, and it's his greatest challenge is obviously going to be growing old gracefully and still maintaining a level of not only just maturity in the locker room but also delivering out on the floor, because he has to mentor a Brandon Ingram.
But remember, Luol Deng has already been told he's going to be the starter. Brandon Ingram is going to come off of the bench.
Yes, and that's I think that's lowering the expectations for Brandon. That's making sure that he can actually see what it looks like and feel what it looks like to be in this league. Russell got thrown in the fire really quickly, and then they pulled back, and he spent a month or so not starting and not playing heavy minutes, and then eventually got a chance to get back in there. So I think they're learned from the D'Angelo Russell experiment last year in terms of when to throw him to the fire. And so I think they're being a little more cautious this year with Brandon.
Well, you still live in L.A. What's the vibe around D'Angelo Russell? And it's no secret, the struggles with Byron Scott, the incident he had with Nick Young. What's the take on him?
Well, he was a 19-year-old rookie. So I can only give my take and my feelings towards him now. An opportunity for him to now step in and mature. This can be his team. If he finds his voice and he finds a leadership quality within him, which he had in college, to guide this group of men, some of them older than him, obviously, more experienced, yet at the point guard position, I think Luke is calling for him to step in there and take more responsibility as that guard. It can be his team. Now, last year was not the most graceful of seasons for a rookie. He had bright spots. We have highlights of him. We saw brilliance of a second round, second pick in the first round. We saw why they picked him. Now the consistency has to come along, and the maturity on and off the floor has to come along, and I think it will.
Ultimately, second team all rookie, so enough to get the media's votes to be honored in the postseason. His numbers certainly, as you said, with his playing time fluctuated when he was in there. Was able to take advantage, set a Laker rookie record for most three-pointers made in his first season. And now they're going to work to grow him alongside Jordan Clarkson with this backcourt. And the focus, as you alluded to earlier with Luke Walton, is all about defense here, and it is something that Luke Walton will not relent on here in this first week of camp.
Nor should he. Any team that's going anywhere in this league plays both ends of the floor. Now, it all falls out over the course of a season where you stand. But when we're talking about the playoff teams and the top contending teams for championships, and we look at the rankings statistically, or where those teams stack up, and the defense efficiency and the offensive efficiency, they're always above the middle of the pack. They're always up there. This team was fourth at the bottom in defense last year. So they have to take great strides to get that back in the forefront in the minds of these players and to collect a rhythm on the defensive end of the floor as well as offense, obviously.
I thought Jordan Clarkson made some really mature comments over the last couple of days saying that he was just terrible on the defensive end of the court last year, and that Coach Walton has now challenged him to become a very good defender. And this is a guy who now went from a second-round pick, traded on draft night, acquired by the Lakers, to now thrust into the starting lineup, asked to do a lot of different things for the Lakers, and then rewarded this summer now with a 4-year, $50 million contract.
Yeah, that should give him some time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Which I thought well worthy the investment on the Lakers' part. And I'm going to compete with a certain rapper in the background here.
But this is, hold on, we should point it out.
This is a new era.
This is what Luke Walton does, brought it down from what Steve Kerr installed in the Bay Area a couple of years ago. Music, creating the vibe here. Now,
I'm curious to find out who actually sets the playlist.
Well, we're going to ask a lot about that, but I've been told the music has to be lowered a bit for the first few days because of all the fundamentals being taught. Sometimes you need to lower the music to get that message across.
Yeah, I subscribe. I like the move. I just, in these moments of training camp, you want to make sure no message is lost. And so in an ADD era, distractions can be good, but, hey, it worked in Golden State.
Well, with Golden State, Luke Walton got the opportunity to serve as the head coach for a period of time last year with Steve Kerr out and really proved his value. And that ultimately had to be what sealed the deal for the Lakers to feel good about bringing him back to the organization. But Luke saying that he's not telling stories of what happened the last couple of seasons with the Warriors when they went to back-to-back NBA Finals, winning a title 2 years ago, 73 games, a record, with them winning in the regular season last year. Not talking about what happened with that team, but when specific examples of plays and how things get executed need to be brought up, Coach Walton hasn't shied away from telling players about that.
That's good. That's good because he'll tell those stories recently of those experiences. These players can relate to, I'm sure, a lot of the Golden State Warrior players because I'm sure they idolized them, looked up to them over the years, the last few years. But those stories, I think, will go even deeper into his days with Kobe because they have a connection. Obviously, some of these players have played with Kobe. What it meant to pursue championships and succeed with two of them playing with Kobe as a teammate, playing under Phil Jackson as a head coach. So these are all examples of excellence, quite frankly, that he can call upon. And let's not forget, he's a Laker. He comes from the Laker tree, so he understands what it means to have the expectations of winning championships heaped on you as a player. And he's here to obviously maneuver that for these young guys so that they can get to a place where they can relax into not only improving as players, but improving as a team and growing towards winning more games than 17.
Well, you played one season with Luke Walton to help bridge the gap between the 3 titles you won in the early part of the decade and to the 2 that they won in 08 and 09. And now Luke Walton is the head coach here, and we'll get your take on what he's doing here at practice. And when we return, Mitch Kupchak, the general manager, who's had a very busy summer, will join us live on the set. It's Rick Fox and Jared Greenberg. Pictures a year makes for Luke Walton, coaching the Golden State Warriors to start the season, filling in for Steve Kerr for 43 games, leading the Dubs to an historic start, 24 straight wins, ultimately 39-4 before Coach Kerr returned to now. A little different roster that Luke Walton will be the full-time head coach for this year.
Slightly different. I can make the case that both were challenging, considering it was Luke's first head coaching experience. He did have quite the list of champions helping him out in that case. But here he has a fresh slate with a group of young men who can be molded and shaped into his liking. And if he can get them to understand the importance of both ends of the floor and how the game should be played. He has the championship caliber and experience both on the floor and from the bench. I think his voice will ring strong. Different than Byron Scott's.
How important is that?
That it's different or that it's fresh?
Both.
I guess they both are one and the same, right? In this case, communication between the media and the players as of what's been different about this has been pointing towards the freedom from the past coaching staff along with the absence of one Kobe Bryant. Now, I come from an era of, that's old school Laker basketball that won a ton of championships. They have a lot to offer. So, like I said, at some point in this season, even though it is a new era, and even though Luke is a new coach with a new message, they're going to look back on the last 2 years or last year with both of those men and appreciate some of the lessons that were brought to them. They just have to see them, and they're not too clear to them right now.
Luke Walton's the youngest head coach in the NBA, 36 years old. He's got one player on the roster that's older than him, the Metta World Peace, and one guy that's only a year and a half younger than him, than Jose Calderon.
Yeah, 35. Happy birthday, Calderon, the other day.
Younger coaches with this type of roster.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense. I think the voice and the choice of Luke Walton as a younger player, 4 years out from his own playing days, stepping in to connect and maybe interact with these young talented players on a level that is easier for them to receive.
Well, Rick,
we'll find out here from Mr. Kupchak.
Yeah, your former boss, the man who made the decision to bring in Luke Walton, Mitch Kupchak, the general manager, joining us here on NBA TV's Real Training Camp Lakers show. Mitch, first and foremost, thanks for having us here. This is a really cool opportunity for our viewers to get a look inside of practice and listen to how different practice sounds now from it used to sound with the Lakers.
Yeah, it's different. We clearly have a lot of young players. Our core is a group of young players, and we have a completely new staff. There's a different feel to practice. You can hear the music. They just turned it down, but they play music very loud. There's a lot of energy in the building. We've added a couple of veterans for stability, hopefully, and some leadership in the locker room. So, we have a good mix of players. We need to show and make some progress this year in terms of wins, but there is a good energy, and our future, I believe, is in our young players.
I would agree with you in the future of the organization as those young players evolve into what you hope is stars in this league that can return the Lakers to the glory days. You brought in two veterans, as you mentioned, though. Timothy Mozgov, Luol Deng. Your thought process through free agency as they were filling, obviously, holes that you felt this team needed.
Well, we did need size, and Luke was involved in the process. He doesn't make those kinds of decisions, and he didn't get to us until after the Warriors, unfortunately lost that Game 7. So we didn't have as much time as we'd like. But I spoke to him during the playoffs quite a bit, and then when he finally got in, we spent a lot of time together looking at our board. So what we did starting July 1st at 12:01 is we had our targets picked out. Of course, the superstars, we wanted to make a run and be as powerful as we possibly could, but we knew we needed size, and Brian Shaw coached Timothy in Denver, knew him very well. So he became, our quick target, and then, once again, we needed more leadership in the locker room, and that led us to Luol Deng.
Mitch, when you have drafted or signed a player last few years, or maybe exchanged this year, beyond just their skill set or position that you may need to fill, is there a certain number of boxes that you're looking to check for a player that he has on and maybe off the court as well?
Of course. You'd love to have a guy with high character, that's in his, mid-20s, that's been an all-star, and that's going to be the perfect player. They're far and few between to try to get a player like that. So you do check, the character box and his ability to play and his age and so forth and so on. A lot of times you do have to make compromises, and you can't get every box checked the way you want the box checked. And that's just the way it is in this league. At 12:01, it's a very competitive free agent market. And players, make decisions based on financial information, where they want to go, where they want to play, their chance to win right away. So it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. But yes, we have boxes we check out, and we're comfortable and happy with the players we got this summer. And another player you didn't mention is Jose Calderon. I think he's going to be a big part of our, veteran in the locker room, and I think he has a couple of years left to play as well.
You speak of checking boxes, and you also brought in Luke, a new coach, a new coaching staff. What were those boxes for you when it came to making a shift from Byron Scott and heading in a new direction?
Well, Byron was dealt a very difficult, hand. Our team was kind of in a spot where, we couldn't progress and get better quickly. And unfortunately, Kobe, his last 3 years, was injured each year, and then he decided, midway through his last year to make a retirement. So it was a tough situation. You know, Byron is a very, very good coach, and I think he'll be coaching again in this league. Luke was just a different look. You know, he certainly is known by us. You know, we drafted him. He worked for our D-League team for a year, and of course he had great success as an assistant, and then for those 40 games as a head coach up in Golden State. We liked the way they played, and we just felt at that moment, you know, with all the factors we just talked about, Kobe's retiring, you know, all the young players coming in, it was just a feel that this is something that we wanted to go and make a change by doing.
Do you feel with doing that, you've kind of reset your clock? Because as you've addressed many times, especially this week, well documented, Jim Bush's promise of a 3-year being competitive, that's going to come to an end here at the end of this season. Do you have to restart the clock because of all that's gone on in the last few months?
The way I look at this team is we're trying to build something that we can sustain, and that's going to take some time. You know, we have financial flexibility. You know, we were fortunate to some degree with the lottery selections the last couple of years. You know, we could have pulled up and got a number that put us out of the lottery. And we were not a good team. So we deserved the number 7 pick with Julius and the number 2 pick, you know, with D'Angelo. And, you know, so we have a young group that it's going to take some time. We've added some veterans, you know, hoping that we can move the process along and get better quicker than you normally would. But it is a young group. And the one player I did mention was Brandon. You know, I think he's going to be an excellent player. But you'll see, you know, flashes of brilliance this year. But at 19 years old, you know, it's just going to take some time. So that's my take on this. Is just to build something that's going to have a lot of assets, that's sustainable going forward. And each year and each month of this season get better and better and better. How many games we're going to win, I don't know. This is a very competitive league. You know, the West 2 years ago is different than the West today, and the West next year is going to be different than the West this year. So, you know, we can't control all the variables when you're putting a team together. You may have a great team in the West and still not make the playoffs. So we can't control those things. So we're going to, you know, control what we can, which is nurture our young players, you know, make sure they get better, make sure they develop, and make sure that our veterans help us win some games and make progress as the years and as the season goes on.
Mitch, one of the things I recall from being a young player in this league was the amount of pressure that the league brings to you as an individual. And then there's the pressure that your teammates put on you, your coaching staff puts on you. How do you balance that with this group of young men? Because some of them got a taste of losing for the first time. That's a pressure-filled environment, and rebounding from that. As they grow, this still is a business. They still are being paid a ton of money to do a job, and we're judged by the wins. So without any number attached to how many wins, what makes this a contending team or improving team based on last year's 17 wins?
Well, we think we've improved our talent level, you know, throughout the roster. First of all, our younger players are a year older, and they're going to be better because they work at their game. You know, Julius Randle, you know, I don't have the roster in front of me, so I hesitate to start mentioning names because I'm going to miss somebody. Okay, that always happens. But Julius, and he's not the only one, he came into the gym twice a day, every day this year during the off season. So, you know, our young players, they work at their game. They have great pride in their game. Sometimes I don't know how they do deal with the pressure. You know, the world that they're in today, you know, with the scrutiny and, you know, everything being instantaneous that can go viral in 3 seconds, you know, they can't go anywhere. Everybody's got a cell phone with a camera. So sometimes I wonder how they do it compared to how you did it and how I did it. You know, it's a totally different world. I think the simple answer is it's just something that they've grown up in and they're used to.
Have you heard from Kobe? Is he going to stop by practice anytime soon?
Yes, we have an invitation out to him. He's busy. He and I text back and forth. I think the last time, you know, we communicated was last week, and we invited him out to a practice. Jamal Wilkes is here today, right behind me, and every year we try to invite the guys in that have their name on the wall at our practice facility. And I know Jerry West is going to come by. I know Elgin Baylor's going to come by. Kareem is going to come by. And Jamal came by. Magic's going to come by. So Kobe has indicated, based on his schedule, that yes, he would. My guess is he probably wants to get away for a year, but we'll get him back.
Has he given you any indication about being involved with the organization?
And I mean, guys like Kobe, they don't become the assistant general managers, and I don't even think they become general managers. I think guys like him, they buy teams. So, if I ever asked him to come in and work with a young player, he would certainly do it. And like I said, he's going to come to practice. And if we ever had an issue, where I felt Kobe or we felt Kobe can help us, he would be the first person. Mitch, whatever you say. Beyond that, I'm not aware of anything, that's been discussed. And my understanding is Kobe's up early, he's working out, and he's working on his projects. And Rick, you may know more than me, but he's staying very busy. He's not the kind of guy, that takes a year off and does nothing.
No. Hey, Mitch, what is it about Kobe? I mean, we obviously said goodbye, and we're going to move on shortly here, but what do you think these young players are going to miss about him that they may not be aware that they're going to miss?
The last couple of years were very difficult for our team because they really didn't get Kobe like we know Kobe. The last 3 years he had a major injury, and of course last year was his retirement year. So they got to spend time with Kobe at the end of his career, and that's completely different than spending time with Kobe, as you know, at the beginning or at the middle. But just being around him, for the limited time that they were, his focus, his competitive nature, how hard he works, the different generations. So I think that would be something that a young player, and like most young people, they're not going to appreciate the year or two they spent with him until 5 or 10 years from now, and they look back on it.
Mitch, I look at some of the top draft picks that have come through the Laker organization: Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, all Hall of Famers. They were the top, 1 or 2 pick in the first round of the draft. You have D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Ingram. How long is it before we discover their true potential?
Well, I don't want to go through every player on the roster, but you brought up 2 players, and I think they're both gifted players. Jerry West used a description once about somebody gets a little gold dust sprinkled on them, and I think both those players, have a little gold dust that was sprinkled on them from the basketball gods. Whether or not, they can become what we all hope they become, that's up to them. That's maturing, that's working on the court, in the weight room, and it's going to take some time. When you're 19 years old, you can't rush the process. But I think they want to be great players. And I think both those players, being drafted number 2, they should be able to have a shot at least being a great player if we know what we're doing at all. And I don't think anybody would say that both those players don't have a chance to be great players.
Without rushing the process, though, is it a 3-year window in this league for a young player that comes in a rookie contract before you really have? I think it's important that they know what the timeline is on these things, because sometimes you come in, you come in as a rookie and you think I have 5 years to find my way.
Well, they want it now.
Okay, as long as they want it.
Yeah, okay. They want it now, but they can't. It's not possible. Just young people, you can't get it all now, and when you actually are in position to have it all, you're in your late 20s, or almost 30 or 31, and you're almost going to lose it, and you start losing it in a year or 2. And that's how it works in this business. You get better and better and better. You reach your peak. Younger players today would probably reach it when they're 24, 25. Back when we played, it was probably 28 or 29. Yep. So it's a process, and I know they want it. I know they want it now. It's not going to happen overnight. And they're not the only 2. I think we have a couple other players that are young that have a chance also. But being drafted number 2, it has to be discussed. You can't hide from the fact that, hey, Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell, let's talk about them, and can they be special? When you're drafted number 2, there should be expectations.
I didn't see you guys do your secret UNC handshake yet.
I was just going to ask him if he talked to my Coach K about Brandon Ingram, what that conversation was like.
You drafted a lot of Duke guys recently, by the way.
Yeah.
And everybody that I call Coach K about, they're all great kids. They're all going to be great players. They all work hard. So I do call him every year, and when he starts to talk, I'm listening, but I do move the phone away a little bit because I know exactly what he's going to say.
Well, Mitch, we appreciate it, and we understand your playlist is coming up here soon. Your personal one that you picked out.
You're setting the playlist for the guys?
My playlist? Oh.
Your music playlist.
Do you get a day?
Well, my playlist is
you're a future guy.
Is a little
you?
dated.
Yeah, you're a future guy.
It's a little dated. Rolling Stones.
Hey, you going out to Palm Springs?
Springsteen. That's
next
about
weekend?
it for me.
Palm Springs next weekend.
What's in Palm Springs?
Old Cella.
Oh, the Ocella Film Festival.
Old Cella.
Oh, Old Cella. Yeah, I fit the
Rolling
bill.
Stones, Paul McCartney.
Yeah, I fit the bill.
Who?
The Beatles. Yeah, you got it.
Mitch, thank you so much for all the time. We really appreciate you inviting us into training camp today.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Mitch.
It's great.
Couple of Tar Heels. Mitch Kupchak, Rick Fox, coming back with more.
Math done the Jared Greenberg way.
University of California, Santa Barbara. Rick, you guys went a lot of different places during your 7 years with the Lakers for training camp. We're up the coast here, and Luke Walton wanted to get the guys away a bit.
Our first training camp here under Phil Jackson was here at UC Santa Barbara, and I came straight from my wedding and spent my honeymoon here. Training camp. And
Romantic.
very romantic. Won a championship.
Lakers have been known to go a lot of different places. Hawaii is always the highlight every few years.
It'll be interesting. That's usually after a championship. They celebrate and go to Hawaii. So we'll see if they can pull that off next year.
All right, let's take a look here. A lot of the focus the first 3 days, now day 4 of training camp, has been on defense, and it seems like nothing has changed. That seems to be the mantra for Luke Walton.
Yeah, a lot of talking at this time of year by teams and players and coaches, but it's the action that matters, and he's stressing defense, and we're seeing defense.
We showed the different rosters of the Golden State squad that Luke Walton had last year to this Laker team. Can Luke Walton just take the same philosophies and principles on both sides of the ball and apply them here? Is it that simple?
It is that simple. The execution is what matters, right? Players and personnel, talent levels and skill sets are all different throughout our league. But growth, when you have youth, if you train them correctly, as we see from the San Antonio Spurs history, they can take young players and really mold them into superstars. So the talent is here. Now it's just running through the paces, the repetition, the execution. If we think about the triangle offense, we've had this conversation over the years with it's not as easy to just plug in the triangle offense and have players execute it. What the Golden State Warriors do up north, I'm sure is a little more complicated than just rolling the ball out and letting the superstars get it done.
Well, among Luke Walton's coaching staff is Kobe. Not breaking news.
Kobe's here?
Well, a different Kobe.
Oh, hey, congratulations, the Defender head coach, Kobe Carl, George Carl, UNC Tar Heel guy, his son. But I just want you to know, bro, the Black Mamba life matters, bro. He matters. They're going to miss him, man. Say what you want to say. There's a calm, there's a respect that comes from the opponent when a Kobe Bryant was on the floor. I'm excited to see, Luke Walton started as a Defender coach as well. So Kobe Carl, who knows? Maybe he's starting his career in the Laker organization, and someday he'll be manning the sidelines as well.
It's one of many familiar names on this coaching staff that Luke Walton brought over. Brian Shaw left our studios at Turner and is now the associate head coach, former head coach of the Nuggets. And
a gaucho at that. Gaucho at that. He went to school here. I mean, the halls are lined with memories of
I haven't seen one,
Brian
actually.
Shaw. You just didn't go down the right hall.
Oh.
I didn't say the gym hall, more the dorms.
Now, you are quick to remind me, so I want to remind everybody, you had 2 different stints with Brian Shaw as a teammate.
I did. I sure did. I was Brian's rookie along with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, showing my age. Brian I played with in the Celtics organization for a month, literally a month, and then he got traded to Miami for Sherman Douglas. And then we returned here to LA years, brighter, more glorious days. And as you know, Brian's been in the organization as a player, also as a coach, and now again returning after a head coaching stint in Denver where he has ties to Timofey Mozgov. So I think Brian spoke highly of him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Timofey can bring to the Lakers in the paint.
Mark Madsen is also on this coaching staff.
Yes.
Judd Bushler with his days with the Bulls, so knowing the type of system that Phil Jackson taught. Luke Walton.
There's a little Arizona tie there, too.
A lot of Arizona ties here.
Yeah, so Luke staying true to not only his pro roots, but his college days, as did Steve Kerr.
How much of an impact do these assistant coaches have here during training camp as Luke Walton tries to pretty much revamp everything that's done?
Well, I mean, their job is obviously, from a player development standpoint, not only to dive deeply into the growth of these players, these young players, but also to be an added voice at times when players tune out the head coach. Their support of Luke behind the scenes as Brian came over and what he had forgotten about his days as a coach, and he'd really only been out the game for a year, was how locked down in the bunker you get as an assistant coach, really preparing day in and day out for practices and game film and watching and scouting. And so there's so much work at play here for these assistant coaches, especially in supporting a new head coach, the youngest in the league.
Coming to you from the University of California, Santa Barbara, the Gauchos, as we mentioned, the greatest of them all. In his short tenure here, Brian Shaw.
How you doing, Jamal? Good to see you.
Mitch Kupchak joined us a little earlier on. Now we're going to bring in here, with the magic of live television, friend of the program, Jamal Wilkes, joins us very often here. And Jamal, obviously, one of the great Lakers, 3 titles in L.A. And Jamal, how different is this training camp from others that you've either participated in or come to watch with the Lakers?
Well, it's very different. Everything is young. Not only the players, but the coaching staff. I think they'll do a fine job. But in my take, I'm just observing a day or so. But we're going to need some players to grow in a hurry, too.
When you think of the transitions over the course of your career as a former Laker and a current Laker still, when it comes to watching those transitions, we've seen a number of them over the years, right? What has made those in the past successful?
Well, I think in the past it helped to have it helped to have Dr. Buss and Jerry West and Bill Sharman, all those guys, quite frankly, and you know the value of that.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. So I think this year it's going to involve a lot of trust and a lot of patience and a lot of learning. I think a core group, when I spoke to them, a core group is going to have to take responsibility and hold each other accountable. And execute. So I don't know what's going to be involved with this group because it's a first for me. Everything is young. But I think they'll progress and they'll come along.
What do you think with the guys who were rookies or earlier in their career last year, what all of the attention to Kobe and having Byron Scott in an interesting situation, how do they react to what happened last year and move forward now?
Well, I think they have to try and clean the slate. I mean, it was such an unusual year to have an iconic Laker such as Kobe and the media circus around it, retire. But I think they have to clean the slate, and they have to realize that if it's up to them, it's that group right now.
What do they not know that they don't know?
Well, that's they don't know a lot right now, but I wouldn't tell them that. I mean, we both have children around that age, but what they don't know is that they don't know a lot, and that they need to soak in and observe and as much as they can, particularly this week, because as you know, once the exhibition and the game start, there's no time. So they have to realize the importance of this week and being here and giving all they have to Coach Luke Walton and what he's trying to implement.
Understand your son has been part of shaping this organization, working on Mitch Kupchak's staff. What has that been like for you to have your son now in the Laker organization?
It's a trip, quite honestly. But I'm happy for him. That's what he wanted to do, and they say he's doing a good job. But it's it's also a little special too, having that family tie in with the organization.
You and I had an interesting chat earlier in the summer after the Kevin Durant news came out, and we talked about your move from the Warriors to the Lakers and the timing of all of that, and when you have the chance to join the Lakers. As you reflect back at now all the attention that's been put on the NBA this offseason with all these high-profile and high-priced moves, what do you reflect back on to your days of going down the coast?
Well, when I reflect, it was more of a mom-and-pop league then, and frankly, that's why I left Oakland, was that the owner just didn't have the wherewithal to keep me or a slew of other players. But I think now, since the game has grown so much, and interestingly enough, with social media, you don't have to be in LA or Chicago or New York. You can be anywhere in the country. So
that's why you should get League Pass, right, Jamal? Yeah. That was right. Sell the company.
Yeah, I just got a notification. My charge went through. So I'm wired up.
I think you could reimburse that.
I hope so. You were a slim shooting forward. Give me your thoughts on Brandon Ingram.
I haven't seen him play much in college or high school for that matter, but I think it could be an advantage, quite frankly. I think, as you know, everyone in this league is really, really, really good at something. And, I think sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the case with Brandon, but you can want him to do maybe what he doesn't do. So I think as a slasher on offense and defensively getting through the screens, he's long, he's got length. I think back to myself. I think to George Gervin, Michael Cooper. I mean, Cooper weighed less than I did. Wow. And he was very effective for us.
Well, you mentioned Coop defensively well touted over the course of his career. This is some of the early praise from Luke in return to Brandon's game out here in a few days has been the defensive.
Yeah, I've read and heard.
Ball.
Yeah, and I think that's a positive that a young player like that is not only knows how, but is willing to play defense.
Well, Jamal, it's been great to catch up with you. You always give us a lot of time throughout the season, so I'm sure it won't be long before we chat again.
Well, thank you so much, guys.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Jamal Wilkes joining us here at the Great Laker as the times are a-changing here. We're in Santa Barbara, and we've got plenty more to do from Laker Day 4 of training camp. Kobe wasn't the only guy who retired last year. Gary Beatty did as well.
Yeah.
TV. Well, Luke Walton is now one of 30. The youngest head coach in the NBA, and let's take a listen in to his 4th training camp day here in Santa Barbara as the Lakers head coach.
Way to run, T-Black. Way to run, Larry. Yes, sir. Good work. We're doing a transition defensive drill. Be careful, explain it. Real quick, give me a purple team. Jose, Williams, Ingram, Nance, Mozgovs, Jacobs, and Zach. You guys come in on the bench for that team.
Four blues right here.
Give me a white team of D'Angelo, AB, Dang, Randall, Ian, Big Z.
I would thank Luke Walton for wearing a mic today. And Luke Walton now talking a lot of defense, but another characteristic of a Luke Walton team that we saw the last 2 years at Golden State is being able to shoot the three ball. Last year, not only defense struggled, three-point shot. And remember last year at this time, Byron Scott telling his guys not to shoot the three. That eventually got loosened up a bit, and the team was able to take a few more. But, the team that Luke Walton was the head coach for a period of time, and then the top assistant to Steve Kerr, led the NBA shooting nearly 42% from three-point territory. The Lakers were historically bad, the worst since the inception of the three-point line in the NBA at under 32%. You're talking about a team that made less than 8 a game. Meanwhile, the Warriors last year made more than 13 a game.
Well, there's a ton of teams out here in the league now that have fallen prey to attempting to compete in the three-point era. Taking threes don't necessarily mean you make threes. And in the case of Byron Scott, maybe he knew something, because that shooting percentage there tells you maybe they should not have been shooting threes. But as we know, That's not the way the Warriors played. That's not the way the game is being played more and more by more teams. You have to be able to actually compete from behind the arc in some way. So I don't know where they find players that are going to actually shoot at a high clip, but maybe they're off season. They worked on that, and we're going to see some of that in preseason.
Well, let's mention one of the more intriguing storylines here in camp. A guy fighting for a position, a guy who we wondered if he would make it to training camp, but indeed Nick Young is here. He also a very difficult 2015-2016 season with the Lakers. Nick Young is known as a three-point shooter for his career, about 37%. But last year, 32% and averaged a career low 7 points a game. Nick's got this year and next year left on his
made
contract.
one there.
Yeah.
Well, look, you can very quickly in this league go from a three-point maker to a three-point taker, depending on that line, that Mason-Dixon line of percentage. And when I played in the league, 33% was considered acceptable back in the day, but in this era, you have guys shooting 40s, mid-40s. I mean, they really have become masters from behind the arc, and so a low 30 is no longer acceptable.
Let's talk about where Nick Young fits in here, and he has tried to clear the air, tried to move beyond the incident with D'Angelo Russell, filming him on his camera, and ultimately a tape getting out to TMZ.
And this goes back to the era that these players play in, right? Mitch alluded to this. The pressure of just having a professional career and being a professional and delivering on your responsibilities is there, but now they live in an era where it's scrutinized at every turn with social media. So, look, what went down last season, or in every team, there were situations between players where things went down. This was obviously well documented between two of these players, but it's not new. It's not new in the game. It's not new that players make missteps, make mistakes, and it's not going to change. It's going to continue to move forward in this game. So I don't know how, to tell you the truth, I admire how any of them handle playing in this era. I don't know if I would have been able to survive.
Well, Nick Young saying that we have to put this behind us and go out there and do our job. And the question really, Rick, as we focus on basketball, is what Nick's role will be, because his position is very crowded. And, as I mentioned, he's got this year and next year left on his contract. The Lakers have gone past the date in which they could utilize the stretch provision, which would give them some salary cap relief over the years.
Right.
So
he's
now,
got $11 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. So.
Right. Now you're looking at a situation of what you do with him, because you've obviously got Russell and Clarkson who are going to start in the backcourt, and you've got Lou Williams, and you wonder where he fits in here. And a guy, when Luke Walton's preaching defense,
right.
Nick certainly hasn't been known as a defensive-minded player.
Well, his defense has been his offense. When he's going and he's streaky hot, you got to pay attention to him, and therefore, you're chasing the scoring. But look, if I'm Nick Young, even though I'm a Laker, I quite frankly have to look at this roster and say, hey, we won 17 games last year. Every position is crowded, because every position should be open. Yes, there's people making a lot of money in some of those positions, and maybe are more favorable in getting those minutes, but winning, you put winning people on the floor.
I want the farewell gift that we gave Gary Vitti back, because the legendary Laker trainer said he retired. It was only a semi-retirement. And Gary now joins us here, is back with the Lakers in a different capacity than you have been in different years, but you couldn't stay away, huh? Does that mean Kobe's coming back next too?
Absolutely not.
You just slept walk here, didn't you? Just by habit. You just came. Good to see you, man.
I've been doing pretty well. I was really nervous coming up here, not knowing. I mean, it's sort of an undefined thing, but I just sort of slid right into this semi-retirement thing, and it's great being on the sideline but not being on the firing line.
How different was last year for you and the organization? Was it weird?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it was Kobe's swan song. Everything was directed that way. And as a result, it was probably most difficult on our young players because the way Kobe went out isn't really the way you want to bring young guys in. So it was sort of opposing forces, and we were trying to do everything we could to make it work.
What did work?
What did work?
Yeah,
Kobe
Don't look at the 17.
Okay. Kobe and I worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that was really good. I never saw Kobe in the 20 years that I worked with him so happy. And I think, and I said this to him, I think the reason why you're so happy is because you know we have absolutely no shot of a ring this year. And so once you took that off of his plate, then he could sit back and enjoy being Kobe Bryant. Okay? Where if that was a possibility, then he had to be the Mamba. He couldn't be Kobe. So last year you really saw a glimpse of Kobe Bryant as a human being.
Now, 20 years together, you two shared that training room. A lot of conversations.
Yeah.
What were the conversations like this past year as you guys sat there and taped up, and what went through you guys' minds?
I mean,
together?
it was reminiscent in nature. You remember when, you remember this, and it didn't really follow any theme. Things would pop into your head, and you blurt it out, and then all of a sudden you just go for 20 minutes, in terms of our tenure in history together. I spoke at a class here yesterday, and some things came up about Kobe. And I said, whatever you think of Kobe Bryant, there's 5 things that you cannot take away from him. And one is that he was talented. But as you know, he was not the most talented. There were other people that had more talent than him, but we're going to give him talent. 2, he worked harder than anyone I've ever worked with. 3, he was more competitive than anyone that I ever worked with. He grew up with my daughters, right? And he would beat them. He would cheat in a game of tiddlywinks with my little girls to win. I mean, he has to win. So his competitive spirit is beyond none. And he was tougher than anybody that I had ever worked with. And intellectually, he is brilliant. And whatever else you want to say about him, you have those 5 things. And it was a great honor to spend 20 years with him. Because even in the 20th year, I was still in awe of the things he could convince himself to do.
Well, how about the last thing he did was something we'd never seen him do? And what are you thinking with all the patchwork and super glue and whatever else you used to get him on the court the last few years, watching him take 50 shots?
Yeah. Well, you knew that's the way he was going to go out. Okay? The most unbelievable thing that I think I ever saw him do, which was sort of a ridiculous thing to do, but when he ruptured his Achilles, I don't know if you know this, he actually
shot the free throw.
No, before that he reached back and tried to pull it down.
Oh, jeez.
Like, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, you're going to reattach your own Achilles tendon. Then he told me, he goes, I think maybe I can run on my heel. And I had to let him work through these thoughts for a few seconds until I could finally say, listen, you're done, but I'll let you shoot the free throws if you want. And then we'll foul. Dead ball will get you out of the game. I said, I'm shooting them. And, then we went back in the back and threw a couple Gatorade bottles around.
They would be body armors today.
That's right, yeah.
Kobe ever the evolving athlete. You've been around some of the greats. You've seen them go from rookie status to, in case of Kobe, legendary status. When you watch these young men on this team, because they're young, what is your hope for them? What have you seen from them that gives Laker fans hope?
Yeah. Mitch put me on the spot the other night. He didn't tell me he was going to do this, but he asked me to get up and say a couple things to the players. And what I said to them, because I think we have a really nice young group of kids, I said to them, I want you to understand that you are playing for a storied franchise. And there's not many in the world. You could say the New York Yankees, you could say Manchester United. We're that franchise. And there's been a lot of blood and sweat, and some of it's your blood and sweat, that went into putting those banners on the walls. And now it's your responsibility to wear that jersey, but Lakers on the front. You bear that responsibility to be a Laker. It's special to be a Laker. It's different than putting another jersey on. I'm sure other teams that would hear me say this right now are not happy with what I'm saying, but I feel that this franchise is special. Right? And you need to act that way on the court, off the court, play hard, you play to win. And that's the message that I left these young kids, and I think they received it well. We've had a nice spirited training camp so far.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been spirited. Yeah. You know, they don't know what they're doing out there, but they're spirited, which is a good start.
When you saw Luke Walton here wearing a jersey, did you have the feeling that one day he could be the head coach of this team?
Not initially, but it became very apparent to me along the way that Luke's basketball IQ was very, very high. And I'll tell you how that was apparent. During timeouts when he wasn't in the game, you could see he was thinking the game, and he had a lot to say, you know, but he wasn't the coach, so he'd say it to me, you know. So he was sort of coaching in his head, and you know.
Did you ever take credit for any of his ideas?
Actually, yeah. Yeah, I would listen to him and then repeat, you know, parrot what he said and make it look like I was a really smart guy.
Well done.
Yeah.
Hey, one of the things that's evolved over the years, obviously, in sports medicine is nutrition, and a whole lot's been made of Brandon Ingram, his frame, how much he needs to put on his body. I've heard people debate whether it's healthy or unhealthy to pack on the pounds or how you do it. What's been the approach with Brandon, and how quickly do you try and get that done?
Yeah, I think we have to be really, really realistic. Okay, if you put 20 pounds on Brandon, and I'm just guessing here, just looking at his body, I think that's a lot for him. I think he has some real, what I would call wiry strength. You know, we have him on a very good nutritional program and strength program, and if the pounds go on, then they go on. Okay? I don't think you can force it. I think you have to do it the right way. And I think it's also unfair to compare him, when I look at him, to compare him to Kevin Durant. I like looking at him more as Tayshaun Prince, who had a very slight body and had a very long and successful career. Michael Cooper was a very thin guy, but you know, just because you're not really big doesn't mean you're not strong, functionally strong. Okay, so even
that's what I've been trying to tell you for years, Rick. See, I'm strong.
Hey,
okay.
if Brandon needs 20 pounds, he can have 20 of mine.
You could have 20 of mine. Okay.
Gary, you want to go back and look at some old-time video?
Sure.
Wonder when the last time you saw this. Lakers in a few weeks are going to open up the season without Kobe Bryant for the first time since 95-96. You remember that season? Della Harris, the head coach. Team went 53-29, lost in the first round of the playoffs. Magic last year played 32 games. Then the next era was ushered in.
That's what's those are years ago. I mean, what's your definition of contending?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
What's your definition of a contending team?
Sounds like a political debate here. I like this, getting definitions.
To contend for the championship?
That's your definition?
To be a contender. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Like at this point in time, looking at a team and saying they're a contender or they're not.
Yes.
That's the question?
Yes.
You know, I mean, I think if you know the game and you know the personnel that's on the team, but you also have to know the personnel on the opposing teams, you can sort of pencil in wins and losses that you think, okay? And I think in the West this year, and this is a guess, I'm guessing you probably need 45 wins to get into the 8th spot. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to get at least 1 through 8 to get into the show, and then you go from there. So minimum 45 in the West is what my guess would be, but still, most people would think if you're in the 8th spot, you're not a contender. You just got into the first round. I don't know if it's ever been done. I don't think an 8th seed has ever.
In a lockout year.
Yeah.
Well, the Knicks got to the finals.
Yeah. 99.
So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but
Yeah, no, I know. I only curious because you've seen all levels of especially this stage in the season. Everyone considers themselves a contender. Record 0-0. Everyone has high hopes. These are all professional athletes who've been off in the summers working hard on their craft, and everyone thinks they have a chance to win a championship. We know that's a smaller group of guys than maybe the 30 that think they have a chance. You're at UCSB. You've been to Hawaii, Palm Springs for training camp.
Yeah.
Any particular preference? And how important is it to hit the road as a group in training camp?
yeah, I'm probably not going to make very many friends with the answer to this question. I personally believe that we have this great facility and everything we need right in LA, and that's our home, and that's where we should be. I think some people feel that way. Some people feel the other way. There's this bonding concept. I don't know. Maybe I should ask you the question because you're the player. My experience with the players is that as soon as they're done here, they go to bed and they get some rest. It's not like they're out bonding together.
Right.
Okay.
No, if you're doing it right, you're sleeping.
Yeah. So I don't really buy in so much as that to that. I guess you can make an argument that there might be too many distractions at home, family, friends, that kind of thing. So you go someplace remote. But I like being in our facility with our banners, with our trophies in the windows, with all the equipment that we need, and practice is right there, and there's a hotel right, through the back door. And you literally walk 50 feet, and you're in your hotel room. That's my philosophy, but I'm not high up enough the food chain to make these decisions.
And so much for retirement.
Yeah. This is pretty cool. I mean, let's call it semi-retirement, quasi-retirement.
Gary Vitti, we appreciate you joining us here on the NBA TV's Real Training Camp Show of the Lakers.
Thanks
Legendary trainer of the Lakers. He's semi-retired. You'll be able to see the Lakers and Brandon Ingram in preseason action right here on NBA TV against Jamal Murray and the Nuggets. Friday, October 7th, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on NBA TV. It's preseason action. We've got more from training camp. We'll hear from the players and coaches as they go through day 4 here out at Santa Barbara. University of California, Santa Barbara. Jordan Clarkson not only had a camera last night, he's wearing a microphone for us today during training camp.
Zone up. Zone up, zone up, zone up, zone up, zone up, zone up. Zone up, zone up. Zone up, stay high. I got here. Stay there, Stella. I'm down. Yup. No, sir. Hey. Get it, go. Stay still. Let's go.
The sounds of Laker training camp inside the gym outside.
Is that DJ? My buddy DJ Vice dropped his son off here. Huge Laker fan. Just dropped him off freshman year.
Let's go take a walk around campus.
We should. DJ, come get us.
More, we'll hear from Luke Walton coming up live on the set.
When I was in math class, man.
I definitely was not there. That's
I would
exactly
have done so much better, man.
Rick Fox, Jared Greenberg, Real Training Camp, Lakers, and Rick, you like the drill Luke Walton's running here. We see this a lot with the Cavs over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it looked like they're practicing creating pace, long full court passes, outlet passes to get easy baskets, which puts pressure on the defense. I think Luke is trying to find out who's actually going to get the green light to make these type of decisions on the fly. We've seen the Warrior players, and you mentioned the Cavs players connecting, using the full length of the pass. Kevin Love gets a lot of praise, LeBron James, for making those type of football-esque quarterback-style plays.
There has to be the sense of urgency that you give up a basket and you're going to go right back down the court, catch them sleeping.
Yeah, a lot of teams, a lot of players in the league will celebrate or loaf back on defense after a score. you can catch them, put them on their heels, and neutralize the advantage that they just gained by scoring.
What are you seeing so far from Luke Walton?
The pronunciation of his players' names I thought was excellent out the gates. No, just a command, a confidence about what he's doing here. He's setting a foundation for his team by what they do in this training camp. And, Jamal spoke about this is a time for setting these young players on a course for the season that, as the season picks up, you don't have time to make as many adjustments as you would like. So over the course of this month and especially this week, his voice and his message and his game plan of how they will play, what's important to him and his coaching staff, has to reach these players now. And I've noticed him giving power to his assistants to have a voice in their practices, as well as he's taking full control.
Some of what Luke Walton has stressed to his team is about ball movement, getting everybody involved, not standing still. Told his team that he never wants them standing around, ever. Except for right now when he's giving them instructions. But that comes on the heels of not only what Luke Walton helped Steve Kerr do with the Warriors the last couple of years, but just how much isolation basketball the Lakers have played. Now, let's be fair, a lot of that had to do with Kobe Bryant.
Yes, you play to your personnel and older teams. When I say older teams, average age of some of the teams that have veterans. Really, you want to have those legs fresh towards the end of the season if they're going to have a chance to contend. Style of play. Not everyone can play the style where you're up and down 48 minutes a game. It's taxing. It's taxing. It's beneficial in those cases to have young players on your roster. But, getting a young player to a level to compete for championships is far and few. And it seems like the Golden State Warriors have stocked up on a good lot of those guys, and the rest of the league has to play catch-up and develop their talent.
How excited are you to see Durant in a Warrior jersey this Saturday night on NBA TV?
I see the promos we keep putting up, and it still takes a second each time I see it to remind myself that, yes, he has moved on. But eventually it'll be second nature to all of us as the Warriors move through the season. It is bringing a storyline, though, and an excitement to what will they be, what can they be together as a group. How will, the rest of the league respond to them? But I come from the era of to the victor goes the spoil. So without, all due respect to the Warriors, because they have been excellent as of late, we need to be talking about the champions, the Cavs, if we're going to talk about anyone else, right? Got to pay them their due.
Well, do you think the Cavs still come in as your favorite to repeat?
I always give the defending champion, especially when the roster and the core is set with individuals like LeBron James and the greatest players in the history of the game. They have an opportunity to defend something that they have gone out and so remarkably well accomplished in being down 3-1. I'm sure the Warriors are hungry too, but right now the defending champions, the Cavaliers, have to be confident about their chances to repeat.
You asked Gary Vitti about competing. I'll throw it to you in terms of so much stock being put in the Warriors and the Cavs, rightfully so, obviously with Durant just adding to the slew of talent they have in the Bay Area. But how do the other teams approach the season when there seems to be such power at the top of each conference?
Well, I don't think you can really focus on those things at this point in the season. You focus on yourself, especially during the next month here. Each team is a new roster. Even the defending champion Cavaliers have a new roster. And so, you can't live in the past. You have to discover who you are in the present. And a lot of players go off in the offseason, improve their skills. They come back, they get realized, and then shoulder more responsibility. That is the foundation that each team should be laying right now. And then we start to see over the first 25 games how teams start to shake out. But I wouldn't focus on anything other than getting a true sense of who you are right now as a team and as players amongst yourselves.
Rick Fox, Jared Greenberg, NBA TV brings you real training camp live with the Lakers in Santa Barbara, and got the last number 2 overall draft picks on the Laker roster, and Brandon Ingram working a lot in the post here. And in today's NBA, as we try and figure out who exactly he is, we talked about the weight maybe he needs to add or get stronger, but thought of as a 3, maybe in today's game becoming more of a 4 as well and utilized down there at some point in his career.
A few things you can't teach, and that's size. He may not be bulky, but he is long. And at the end of the day, what we keep seeing here is he's just shooting over everyone. And it doesn't matter who it was. You can't block that. You know, it's difficult to block that. And that's why the comparisons to a Kevin Durant, the ability to just rise up in that wingspan, takes his shot out of the reach of many defenders in this league. So I've watched him run the floor. I've watched him sprint back on defense. I've watched him catch things, catch the ball on the wing and take a dribble or two and pull up. My first reaction, if I had to make a impulsive analysis, that's a player. That's an all-star someday in this league. Now it's just a matter of how quickly he comes along.
You hear a lot about comparisons, and I'm sure, as you know, it's got to be tough for these guys to live up to that. One of the things with Brandon, though, is just how much of a winner he's been, and trying to take that same mentality, winning 4 state titles in high school, really successful, relatively speaking, year in Duke. And now coming into this program here that's trying to rebuild. Any similarities with you and Boston when you entered the league with how you had to approach?
Woo! Okay, sorry, I heard that question, but Nick Young's been put some people in the microwave over here. Talk about him. Where's his minutes at? When you got game, you got game. So he can score the basketball. But Brandon, any player that comes into our league, and I came in at 22. I didn't come in at 19. It is an adjustment. And I always say the first few years, very few guys can pull off what Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, the individuals that came in really, really young and yet still were able to survive and take on huge responsibilities.
You like that he's coming off the bench to start?
Sure. Look, minutes are minutes, right? And he'll find more and more responsibility passed to him as the coaching staff discovers his strengths and where he can be successful and help this team. His patience, he just needs to be patient. That can be a short runway to the starting lineup or to huge minutes. And to me, it's always, are you finishing the game? Everyone gets hung up on, am I starting? It's like, are you finishing? You want to be on the floor in the fourth quarter when the game really matters. And it all 48 minutes matter, but when you really are making and needed to make plays to win games.
Do you think it's just a feeling out process for Luke Walton and the coaching staff, or they want to set a timetable with how they're going to utilize Ingram and Dang?
Yeah, I mean, this is a new roster for them and new players getting to know each other. The strengths and weaknesses individually can find in the scouting report, right? But when you put players together and lineups together, you start to see the benefit of how they make each other better, or unfortunately in some cases how they magnify the deficiencies in each other. So I think the patience in bringing Brandon along, and this might change. I guarantee you he'll get minutes in preseason where we see how he responds to a starting opportunity potentially. Veterans get to rest in preseason, which will force young players to show their wares earlier on, and I guarantee you the evaluation of his game is ongoing by the hour in this organization when it comes to how much responsibility to give him.
Well, same for Julius Randle, who is getting some work in right now as well. Randle, 7th pick back in 2014, among the young group, but it's one of the older guys, 31 years old. Uncle P putting on a show here at Lakers camp.
You got it. Look, weak. Go through. I'm in. Come here, AB. Let's try. Woo. AB. Oh, I'm through. Let's try. Come on. Let's go. Lua. Go, replace. Let's go. Come here, Lua. I'm back.
D'Angelo Russell wearing a mic for us today. Real training camp Lakers, Rick Fox, Jared Greenberg. D'Angelo Russell ended up second team all-rookie after certainly an up-and-down year on and off the court in his first campaign with the Lakers. Fourth among rookies in assists and steals. Rick, we're now joined by a guy who's been covering the Lakers for a long time, and now we're looking forward to seeing him on TV every day with Spectrum Sports. And then Mike Bresnahan. Mike, thanks so much for joining us here at Talk Lakers.
You and my mom are looking forward to me on TV, and that's all I've come across so far.
Well, hey, join the club. Hey, we all got him, right?
No, it's been great. It's been seamless. It's been really fun. After 12 years writing, covering this team for the LA Times to move into the TV area, it's been great.
Not taking the easy way out like us. It's
No,
good
right, yeah.
on TV. Hey, Mike, D'Angelo Russell, obviously big talking point here. Up and down year for him. What do you think he has done over the last several months to make sure things don't go down the same way this year as they did last?
You know, he's really trying to be a leader. I think he feels bad for the way last season ended. He feels apologetic about it. And he realizes a couple things he can do. A, play well on the court, period. You know, I was here in 2007 when Kobe Bryant demanded to be traded, and he was booed a few months later on opening night at Staples Center. A few months after that, they got Pau Gasol, and then a little bit after that, they were in the NBA Finals. And people forget about when Kobe wanted to be traded. If you play well, and if the team wins, these things are forgotten. I think D'Angelo Russell realizes that.
There you have it, Laker fans. Championship 2 years from now?
Yeah, yeah. Might take a little bit longer than that, right?
How long? When you look at this roster beyond D'Angelo, there's a lot of youth.
A lot.
Who has to come along with him?
Well, you know, Julius Randle's got to continue to be that double-double kind of guy. And Brandon Ingram, he's not going to start the season. They're going to put Luol Deng in at small forward, which makes complete sense to me. Let the guy who's guarded KD, who's guarded LeBron, who's got, you know, so many years of playoff experience, let him be the guy to start the season. And then maybe if they fall out of playoff contention, then you let Ingram start getting some starts, getting some quality time. And I think he'll get plenty of time off the bench. But the blueprint for the Lakers should be they're not going to make the playoffs this year, all right? Make it close, get up to like 10th in the West maybe. Next season, try to sneak into the playoffs, 6, 7, 8, something like that. And then a couple years from now, try to go into a season where you get a top 4 seeding in the West. So it's at least a 3-year plan in my mind before they start making big noise in the West.
Mike Bresnahan joining us with Rick Fox and Jared Greenberg. We talked at the beginning about how just surprising the vibe is around here. It's so optimistic, even after what's happened the last several years. And I just wonder, from your standpoint, I know it's a tough question to really give an exact answer to, but how much of it is a breath of fresh air with Kobe's farewell tour over with, Byron Scott's relationship with the players not being here, as much as it is Luke Walton coming in and installing this new system and attitude?
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's so many factors at play. I mean, Byron was definitely more of a tough love kind of guy. And Luke, you know, he loves these guys. I mean, he plays the music that they want to play, which he imported from Golden State. He's pretty upfront about it. The players like listening to music before and after, and sometimes during practice, too. It's just so unusual from what I've experienced. You know, Phil Jackson never did this. And Phil did fine, obviously. He did great as a coach. But it's a completely different mindset. Even Mitch Kupchak, the Laker GM the other day, he said, yeah, it's taken a little getting used to. Sometimes I have to, like, close the door in my office because the music is so loud down below as he's overlooking the practice court where he sits up there. So it's definitely a different, use breath of fresh air. That makes sense to me. As far as Kobe, all right, this is a guy who last season his skills obviously were not what they were a couple of years before that. He was taking 18 to 20 shots a game and only shooting about 35%. And I think, you got to give him his due. All right, it's his last year. Let him do what he wants. But I think the players started to feel like, man, I'm not touching the ball on offense. And I think maybe that reflected a little bit defensively as well. And it was just a very erratic year. Kobe rarely practiced. I think that definitely affected the team.
What makes this a successful season for this team?
That's a really good question. Last season, they lost a record for the Lakers, 65 games. All right, you obviously don't want to go near that again. Not that they're going to win 40 games or anything like that, but they need to win in the high 20s, maybe sneak into the 30s. They were so non-competitive last season. More than 2/3 of their losses were double digits. Just not real exciting, not real competitive. The young guys need to step up, and the vets need to make these games more exciting. Even if they're losing, make it more last-second losses or last minute or two losses, not these blowouts from the third quarter onward.
How important, Mike, do you think is player development at a rapid pace this year to start to make some moves before the trade deadline due to the lack of success this organization's had in the free agent market the last several summers?
It's a really good question. Again, you guys are good. They have not done well.
One of us gets paid. That guy.
They have not done well, obviously, in the free agent market. So maybe the trade factor does become more important once February rolls around, because who knows how they're going to do next February. I know they were targeting Russell Westbrook next year, And that's not going to happen next summer, obviously. You know, he wrapped up another year with Oklahoma City. So maybe the trade possibility does become more important for this franchise. Let's not forget, they acquired Pau Gasol from Memphis in the biggest trade maybe in the Lakers' last 20 years or so. That was a big deal for them. And maybe they can replicate that once February starts to roll around again.
Do you think that that's the direction the organization wants to go? Of course, and we talked about it with Mitch Kupchak, the promise that was put out by Jim Buss has been well documented.
Yeah. And, the thing is, Jim said 3 to 4 years. This is entering 3 years, third year, where, if it's not going to work, he said he would step down. I mean, he's still going to own the team, but he would put aside his VP of player personnel hat. And I don't think they want a quick fix. I really think they want to see what the kids can do. They want to build this team around those guys. But if it's not happening in February, maybe 1 or 2 of them are going to be packaged for a more veteran player.
Wow.
Yeah. It would be giving up a little bit, but who knows what's out there. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, how happy is he right now?
I know what's out there as it pertains to some of the other teams.
Yeah.
And I don't see those teams getting any worse. I mean, they're young teams. I mean, the Warriors are young. The Spurs are young. The West in general is pretty young and pretty good. So I think you have to either stay committed to this youth and grow them to the level that we've seen some of the young teams in the West grow to, which are championship contending teams. But to shift on the fly now after being so patient for the last 2 years, it would be, I think, a panic.
Yeah, I think they're committed to it. 6 months from now, let's see who's really on the market. Let's see if there's any all-star centers bouncing around there who want to change a venue. And maybe the Lakers will have to package 1 or more of these young guys.
It's just not. It's just so not easy
It's
to
not easy.
put together 12 guys and instantly think you're going to contend. They have to discover who they are. They need a training camp. You can't do that in the middle of the season.
No
That's why
doubt.
a lot of those trades don't end up really paying the dividends you think they're going to in the middle of a season.
Rick, one of the best things that happened to this franchise in the last 10 years was the acquisition of Pau Gasol. One of the worst things that happened to this franchise in the last 10 years was the acquisition of Pau, because now Laker fans think, oh, we'll go out and get this guy. We'll go out and get that guy. It just doesn't happen like that. That was a once, I'm not going to say in a generation deal, but definitely a once in a decade kind of situation.
That was a Jerry West. I mean, that was when you got Shaq. He pulled it off with Shaq, too.
Yeah, so it happens.
It happens.
Every 10
it can
years
happen
or so.
again. Mitch is capable of something like that.
Yeah, it may be. But Laker fans are almost unfairly, I think, expecting some magic wand to be waved, and here comes DeMarcus Cousins or this guy or that guy.
We're spoiled from an era of really players wanting to be Lakers.
Yeah, I agree.
And now they've shied away from the pressure.
Yeah, and you could argue that they gave Mozgov 4 years and they gave Luol Deng 4 years because maybe they felt they had to.
Oh, they pulled the trigger quick.
Yeah,
yes.
to make sure these guys would indeed come on board.
Yeah.
And they also gave Jordan Clarkson 4 years. That one, he's a young guy. He's averaging about 15.5 points.
You could be okay with that.
Yeah, that's
a
a young guy
deal.
to build around. But I think they had to tack on an extra year to the vets, maybe even 2 years, to make sure they come out here to L.A.
Well, Mike, we look forward to seeing you in your new role, moving over from the LA Times to Spectrum Sportsnet. We'll see you in the studio this year a whole lot.
Sounds good.
We look forward to you joining us as well here. Mike Bresnahan, covered the Lakers for a long time. Great insight there.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I should be paying you. I have such a good time here.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we will.
We're going to hear from some of these Laker players and coaches in a couple of moments here. I want to let you know as well that NBA.com's Sean Powell is evaluating 30 teams in 30 days during the month of September. Check out NBA.com today to see the breakdown on the Warriors as well as the rest of the NBA. All right, thanks again.
Good, D'Angelo. Keep playing, keep playing. Hey, when we give him the ball, you're taking an angle to the rim. He's got to hit you in stride to lay it up.
Oh. I mean, what are we? Is he out?
Luke Walton wearing a mic for us. Now wrapping up practice here, day 4 of training camp in Santa Barbara. Rick Fox, a 3-time champ with the Lakers. We're going to speak to Luke and some of his players right here on the set as real training camp Lakers rolls on. Praise for that guy, this guy, on draft night, going number 2 to the Lakers. Brandon Ingram joining us. Rick Fox, the 3-time Laker champion. Jared Greenberg. You're looking good in that shot. What were you wearing last night is the better question for all of us here. What is this, Brandon Ingram?
I have no idea.
Good answer. Good answer.
Who picked
I
out
would
that?
go with who was that? That's not even me.
Actually, D'Angelo Russell picked it out.
Did he?
and it's something that they made me do. They picked out the song for me, and I had to sing it last night. But
how do you think you did? Rate yourself. How'd you do with singing?
I think I did okay. If I would have knew the words, I think I would have did a little bit better.
That would have helped. Your first NBA training camp. Your thoughts and feelings. Only been 3 days, but what are you thinking right now?
Feeling comfortable.
Good.
A lot of guys out here working very hard, extremely hard. A lot of energy in the building, and we're just getting after it. Seeing a lot of guys dive for loose balls, getting after it defensively, and overall the energy is great.
What did you guys do this summer to kind of get to know one another?
Most of the time we just battling on the court. Off the court we just hang with each other, playing games, just talking, joking around with each other. But other than that, it's just basketball and that.
The NBA audience is getting a little taste of you in the post there. So much talk about having to, assimilate physically to the NBA game. Yet you just shot, 3 different possessions over the top of people. You feel confident that you'll be able to just move throughout your game and find your way physically?
Absolutely. I think with my size, people say that I was shy away from contact, but I like physicality. I like getting into guys, and I know that's how I'm going to get my shots off. So just shooting over guys and being physical with guys, because I have a little bit of strength that people don't know about.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, how much of the NBA is different from your year in college, time playing in high school or AAU ball, where you have to pay attention to what you do off the court and eating and weight room and all that stuff? How different is it?
It's very different. You have to take it serious. It's a job now, and being healthy, it takes you a long way. It helps you have a long career. So off the court, just eating healthy, doing the right things, and of course, just trying to build chemistry with my teammates.
From Coach K to Luke Walton, what are you getting? Which practices were more difficult? How are you liking what Luke is putting out there for you guys?
They're great. Pretty much the same practices. They have the similar playing styles. The open guy gets the open shot. But no, we're just running. We're running us to death. Transition. We're trying to get it in transition. We're trying to get out there defensively. So it's similar. I like Luke. He's been a great dude on and off the court, and he's pushing everyone.
How long before you get to have any say-so on the playlist during practice?
I'll try to put in a few songs, talk to a few guys, but I think I'll try to do it sometime soon.
How different is that, to have music playing during practice?
It's not different. It's kind of like going back to workouts. But, of course, we didn't do that at Duke, but it's a good relaxing feeling when you're doing it with music.
What's your feeling about the season, heading into the season, things you'd like to accomplish, things you'd like to see this team accomplish?
We have a good team. We know leading up is going to be a process. We're going to have to practice every day. We're going to have to work hard each and every day, and we're going to have to pay attention to detail. But just leading into the season, I feel really good about it. Everyone's young, but everyone's very driven. And a lot of people can do a lot of different things on the court. A lot of people are versatile. Big guys can shoot the basketball. We can get to the basket. So it's going to be very, very exciting.
We know you have this quiet confidence about you. What's the balance between wanting to be out there all the time and accepting the role of coming off the bench to start the season? How do you show that you want it, but at the same time accept what Coach Walton's asking you to do?
I think it starts in practice. Just working hard in practice, showing what you have in practice, and it'll lead up to the game. He knows I'm driven. He knows they did their research on everything about me. So just showing it up in practice and just hopefully getting a chance to show it when I get my opportunity.
Well, we're going to have you on NBA TV October 7th against another lottery pick in Jamal Murray. How much are you looking forward to getting on the court and playing a real NBA game, albeit preseason here?
I'm looking forward to it. It's something that I dreamed of. Of course, it's not an actual season game, but I'm ready to get to it. I'm ready to play with these guys and ready to get after it.
What did some of your current teammates tell you about last season? What did they tell you to expect?
A lot of physicality, a lot of different guys, but a lot of guys that actually like to help. A lot of the veterans teaching points. And just knowing that this season is going to be a different season, new coach and new playing style. So what I see so far, I like.
Brandon, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for joining us here, and never wear that costume ever again.
I won't.
Brandon Ingram, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
here.
you.
The number 2 pick of the draft, NBA TV's coverage of Lakers' real training camp. Rick, it seems like this guy knows what he's doing here, huh?
Well, between those lines, he definitely does, and this is my first time talking to him outside of, I think it was Beauty and Essex in Vegas. But it's good to see you again. I'm excited to see your career unfold here.
Well, Rick, what did you see from practice here today?
With this young man, well, I saw what everyone is touting. The comparisons to the excellent players in our game that he has the opportunity to grow to. Runs the floor, plays the defense that Luke Walton has pointed out. He's long. I'm not concerned about his weight. I just saw him go to work in the post. Saw him take the ball off the dribble on the wing and pull up and hit shots. And I think in the competitive atmosphere that Luke is demanding day in and day out in competition and keeping score and track of everything, he was one of the last guys in the drill. So I think he did fairly well in holding his own.
Well, the man that Brandon Ingram's going to back up for the time being is Luol Deng, who's signed here with the Lakers in the offseason. Rick Fox, a 3-time NBA champion here with the Lakers. And you picked some pretty good cities to play in lately, huh? Miami, LA, not bad.
Nah, I've been very blessed. I'm excited.
What are you seeing here from Brandon and him accepting this role of becoming your backup essentially to start?
No, Brandon is for a 19-year-old. Just take basketball aside. He's very humble, very mature. The kid loves the game. I mean, I already see him in the gym at night before training camp started, working and everything. He's going to be a great player in this league for many years to come.
Heading now from Miami here into LA, you've been a part of very good teams, teams that required a balance between young and old and vets, and you're here now as a vet at a time in your career where your leadership and skills are both needed.
Yeah.
What's the stage that you're setting for these young men? Because they had a chance to play under Kobe Bryant at a time when Kobe obviously was leaving the game. You have a lot of years left. What can you impart to them at this stage?
I think, it's first of all, it's a great role to be in. I'm really excited. When I was in Chicago, everything was just out of hard work. I followed the vets. We had a good coaching staff, and I just came in and just played hard every day. When I went to Miami, we had some good vets. So my role was more of, I played hard every night, but I was more of the balancer. I played my role as best as I can. Now here in Miami, here in LA, every day I'm an example. How I approach practice every day, what I do when we, after practice, trying to recover, being early, getting shots up, and just setting the pathway to these young guys. And the exciting thing about it is they also they're so willing and so they're so focused on the season. They're really, everybody in the team wants to do well. And it makes my job a lot easier, and I'm so excited that, I got a group of young guys that just watching me every night of what I'm doing. So,
well, those aren't just words. We were here early preparing for the show, and the first bus showed up, and you walked in the gym. I ran into you in the hallway. You were just coming out of the weight room. You're getting shots up. So that type of leadership is going to be needed, because these young men are hoping to have the type of career you have and are continuing to have, and it's those type of actions and rituals that get you there.
Yeah, no, I always say, I think, it's something that a lot of people don't pay attention to in the NBA, but for a lot of young guys, you got to look at the situation they come in. When you come in and you got guys in the team that are constantly working hard in the gym early, I think for the young guys, they start to realize that this is what this league is about, and they pick up this habit from an early age. If you come into the league and you're not in necessarily a great situation, I think you pick up bad habits. So it's really important for us guys, the older guys that have been in the league for a while, to let these guys know and let them see why we're still in the league and why we're still doing well.
Well, you've played with some really talented point guards early in their career, Derrick Rose and Kyrie Irving for part of one season. What do you see in D'Angelo Russell?
I think, D'Angelo, the game is so easy to him, and I think a lot of people see that. I think he has the ability, and he is also so young, but he has the ability to take it up to another level. I'm already on him and just telling him to start being more vocal with the guys, to see, he could get a lot of guys easy baskets. The plays that we put in with Coach Luke now, it's a lot of ways that you could run the offense and still be efficient and not doing as much. I think a lot of times he's just got to see when you know, so-and-so needs to cut, so-and-so could have a shot. And he's really going to get that. It's going to come within time. And Luke is doing a lot of film with him and trying to, you know, settle him down a little bit.
When you ended last year and your game evolved and were asked to play a lot more of the 4 position with Miami, how much did that factor in when you were making your decision on where you'd go next about team utilizing you in that type of way, or maybe not if you didn't like it?
Yeah, no, what I loved last year when I played the 4, I was just able to move a lot. You know, with the 4, I was able to get back to cutting. I was able to run the pick and rolls. I was able to, you know, the big guard, I was able to run the floor, get into the offense quicker. With the offense we're running here, it's a lot of that. You know, it's a lot of movement. It's a lot of cutting. It's a lot of just trying to get out on a fast break. So even though I'm playing the 3 a lot more than I am playing the 4, I'm okay with it because we're moving so much more. The ball is moving. Everybody's moving. There's so many different ways to score.
You played for, you mentioned Chicago and Miami, Tibbs, Spoelstra. Now you're playing for Luke. Both of those coaches are defensive-oriented minded guys, and this is something that this team lacked. Your conversations with Luke, any conversations about defense?
No, definitely. And even at practice, you know, he's told me to just speak up every time I see something, you know, let these young guys know. And the best thing we did is our first training camp, the whole practice was defense. You know, a lot of people are always talking about Luke's offensively. What's the offense going to be like? The first thing he did when we came in, we just focused on defense. And for these young guys, it's so important for them to understand that, you know, even though we got a lot of guys that could score on this team, we're not going to win if we don't play defense.
Well, we're going to hear more from your head coach coming up next. So, Luol, we want to thank you for joining us here, and best of luck your first year with the Lakers.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome
Thanks
to
for
town.
having me.
Luol Deng here joining us, and Rick, former teammates, getting set to join us here. You're going to have to break down what you saw of him as a full-time head coach now.
I didn't see as much as I would like to have seen with our back to it, but I could hear him. And so what I immediately, and I joked about it, the pronunciation of the players' names, but he has, Luke, he has a voice that carries and commands respect and attention.
First and foremost, is there any truth to the rumor that Brian Shaw is trying to get this gym renamed for him?
Not that I've heard of. Did he go to school here or something? I don't know.
Yeah, Brian's a little gaucho.
Luke Walton, head coach of the Lakers. Has it sunk in for you? Has all of this kind of made sense for you?
It probably hasn't sunk in. We've been pretty busy since getting down here a few days before draft, and then before the NBA draft, and then free agency, and trying to hire a staff, and all of a sudden the season's here. So there really hasn't been a lot of time to sit back and let it sink in. We've just been grinding away and trying to get ready and prepared for training camp. And now that it's here, you know, making little adjustments to the practice schedule that we had originally planned out, depending on how we do each day. And we're having fun, and we're pleased with the way the players are playing and the effort we're getting.
You are tasked to build and create a foundation in a new era of Laker basketball, and you have a lot of young talent. What is that one message that has to sink in as you set this foundation, not only for this season, but going forward?
You know, to me, it's how hard we play every night, and do we play together every night? For now, you know, for setting the foundation. Are we going to play an unselfish brand of basketball, and are we going to compete when we step on the court, offensively, defensively? And if we do that, and we can do that, you know, it's like anything else, Rick, you know, it's building habits in practice. So are we doing that each day in practice, get it to carry over to the games? And I think if we can put that into the DNA of who we are, we'll be on a good track.
Well, when that doesn't result in wins, how difficult is it to sell that message to young players who are traditionally coming from programs where all they knew was winning?
Hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully it will turn into wins. Yeah. If it doesn't, we'll find out. You know, this is, you know, I think part of this process is being real and understanding we have to be patient. You know, and that's for not only the players but the coaches. You know, we can't just jump ship and you know, get away from the big view of what we're trying to do if we would lose 3 or 4 in a row. Just like if we win a couple in a row, we can't get too excited and stop working on all those little things that are getting us the win. So it's constantly staying in the middle, finding that line of balance and realizing that we're building towards something bigger, and not to panic too much and not to get too excited depending on how a few games go here or there.
Your journey to a head coach role and position here now at the Lakers, you've been influenced by many great coaches. Any particular one turned to you one day and said, Luke, you should think about coaching?
Well, Phil told me when I was still playing that he thinks I'd make a good coach. I don't know if he did that, because he really thought it, or he told me that when I had a major back injury happening and I might not be able to play anymore, and I was pretty depressed in my life at that time. So he invited me into the coaching room with his staff, and B. Shaw was on that staff, and included me in what they were doing as a way to kind of keep me involved and keep me upbeat. But he had told me early on if I wanted to get in coaching, he thought I'd be a good coach. And he's a huge influence on the way I see the game of basketball, the way I see life, really. So like you said, I've been very lucky to play for him and Lute Olson, and then the last 2 years with Steve was just an unbelievable learning experience.
Coach, how much did you learn about yourself, and how much did it influence the decision for you to feel comfortable to take this job, to have those 44 games filling in for Steve last year?
It was huge, honestly, because I thought I saw everything Steve had to do from just being one seat over, and I was wrong. When I took over, it was so overwhelming with the amount of responsibilities and phone calls and media requests and everything that you have to do, that if I didn't have that experience, I don't know if I'd really be ready to handle this right now.
But you handled it. I could not have been more happy for you, because I think a lot of us that either played with you or know you, know your temperament, know your IQ as a basketball player. Making the transition to coach was a natural. It made complete sense, knowing that you come from a tree of Lute and Luke Olson and Phil Jackson. It just, everything is set there, but your work ethic, you're hearing your voice here in practice, and knowing that it's reaching a generation of young players maybe that is needed. What you're finding with this generation of young players, because you played with other great players, but what is different about these players than the era that we came from?
From my experience, I think with this new generation, there's just a different approach that works as far as getting them to respond. And it's obviously it's case by case. You don't just have a blanket way of treating everybody on your team. You get to know the guys. You know what motivates and what pisses them off, and you use that to bring out the best, to challenge them. And I think the older generations in the way to motivate us a lot of times was to yell at us, or to you just no conversation, really, just this is what we're doing, and the end of it, do it this way or you don't play. Right. And I think with the younger generation, they respond more to an open communication where they can give you their opinions and their views. And I think if you embrace that and you actually listen to them, a lot of times they have great ideas. You're one of the best players in the NBA, in the world, which means you're pretty good for the most part. Right. You're smart. You understand the game. So I think there is a lot of value in that dialogue with the players. Lou All has been in the league for 12 years, so we've already been talking about some of the plays we run and things that he's learned from other places, and it's been great. And once we get to that part of the practice plan, we'll start to add some of that in. And I just think it's a much more hands-on type of generation than when we were playing in the league.
The guys who are returning have really spoke to that this week, and how much they're enjoying that back and forth environment, the open communication, and really the focus has been on D'Angelo Russell, and he's talked about being a leader. What is the difference between talking about it and being the point guard on the court and actually gaining the respect of your teammates and being that guy?
Well, it's easy to talk about, but to get people to lead you, I think you have to show them that you're worth following. And you know, we both played with Kobe, and we know that he was very hard on his teammates. But when you see him as the first player in the gym every day, you see him as the last player to leave every day. You see the work he's putting in, how hard he's competing, how much he's trying to bring you along and you know, work with you. Then all of a sudden, you know, you want to play for him. And that's what D'Angelo is learning to do, and that's what he's going to have to do to be a great leader. He's got to let the other guys not by telling them, but by showing them on the court that he has their back too. You know, that he's willing to do the extra work. He's going to play the point guard position from, you know, a place of getting everybody involved, all these little things, and it takes time. No one just naturally becomes a leader overnight. It takes time, and it takes adversity and going through adversity as a group to come up and then all of a sudden have that type of faith in people.
Do you show him tape of any other point guards?
Not yet, no. We're right now the main focus is on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to improve on as a group. So we're not really using outside video right now too much.
Luke Walton, we appreciate you having us into your practice today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I hope you guys had fun. They told us, which I was
Looked like
surprised.
you guys had fun.
We have fun, but normally the music's 10 times louder. But they told me that you guys wanted it down. I said, wait,
No,
Rick,
not us.
my guy Rick Fox wants me to turn down my music.
We can't pay those rights, man. Future and those
I
guys.
got you.
Who picks the playlist? You?
We take turns picking it. During the season, we'll do competitions and let whoever wins pick the playlist.
You got it. Look, weak. Go through. I'm in. Come here, AB. Let's try. AB. Oh, I'm through. Let's try. Come on. Let's go. Luau.
As we're checking out D'Angelo Russell mic'd up, he's doing some film study, it looked like, as you're watching.
Yeah, I was engaged.
Thanks for wearing the mic for us today. It seems like that vocal leadership we see there, is that a different guy than a year ago?
Definitely. I mean, I speak on it a lot, just as far as having I don't really have the credibility, but having that 1 year under my belt, I guess I have a little something, and that's not nothing at all, but I kind of have a better feel, so I can speak and know what I'm talking about a little bit. So.
Yeah, no, hey, you log 82 games in this league, and you discover a lot about yourself. You discover a lot about your game. The things that you went into the offseason to work on, the things that you feel you're bringing now to this season were what?
Just leadership, definitely leadership. Being a point guard, every point guard has that quality. Going into this whole new system, whole new environment, new coaching staff, new everything, you got to have that.
I like how you've admitted the things that you don't know yet and opened up to what Coach Walton has tried to throw at you guys here. But is there anybody outside the organization that you kind of turn to get some mentoring from?
Honestly, not really, man. It's just been film on my cell phone last season. And then I feel like it's all experience. You get that experience, nobody can really tell you anything. You get that experience under your belt, you start to pick and choose what you need.
I remember when we spoke heading up to the draft a couple of years ago and just how confident you were because you weren't expecting to be in that position the year before when you were entering college. Now that you've gone through what you went through last year, your ups and downs, finished up really strong, was it a bit humbling for you?
Honestly, I don't think I had a bad year. I mean, we had a bad year as a team, but when you look in the mirror, I wasn't that upset with myself. I know I definitely had a lot of work to do, but just going into that first season, I definitely know what it takes going into the next season. Going into the first season, it was just more work on this, work on that, work on this, and now going to the second season, you have a better feel for what you can do to better yourself.
You mentioned a lot of new second season for you. New coach, new players in some cases. No Kobe Bryant. What's that like?
I mean, it's different. I didn't really get the opportunity to really get used to Kobe. I was there for 1 year. I mean, we didn't really have a successful year. I learned a lot from him though, but just without him around, it's a totally different environment. You know, I don't know. It's just different. I can't really put a nail on it and explain it. It's just completely different.
Are there parts of what you're going through now as if you feel like you're a rookie all over again because of all that Kobe had his hands on here?
Yeah, I agree. That's the best way you can really put it. I didn't really want to say that, but that's the best way you can put it. The mistakes and the errors that I made last year, definitely learned from them. But the process of learning after the mistakes and knowing what I could have done and what I should have done is completely different.
As the second pick in this past year's draft, Brandon is in the same position
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
in a year ago. What
Yeah.
advice have you been giving him or can give him, and what have you seen so far?
I think he's doing well. Just he's really attacking it. But last year, when I was going through it, there was a lot of hype coming out, and when I finally relaxed and just played and didn't really think about anything, I started to have a little success. And I feel like the sooner he does that, the better it'll be.
What's the key to the team chemistry coming together, regardless of what your record is?
I would just say everybody sacrificing. You got 10. You got a few new faces out here, so everybody has to sacrifice, no matter what it takes. Just sacrificing. Everybody has to be buying into winning.
Well, D'Angelo, we look forward to seeing year 2, and we appreciate you having us here at Real Training Camp, Lakers style.
Cool. Thank you.
D'Angelo Russell on NBA TV. We got more to do here.
I got you for him too.
Sorry, I left you hanging there.
Sounds good.
Luke Walton addressing the media. We'll wrap things up here from Santa Barbara next.